Good evening, people of hope. We are so glad that you have joined us this evening for this student and family meeting. It really is the place to be tonight. My name is Dr. Ellen Awad, and I'm the Associate Dean of Student Life at Hope, and I will be your host for this evening's event. Before we begin, I just want to tell you how a few things are going to work. There is a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, and if a question pops up for you in this evening that you would like to have answered, you can pop it in the Q&A, and we have a crew of people who are attending to those questions. Additionally, we know that many of you have already submitted questions. We hope that we will get to answer many of those questions this evening. After our speakers have spoken this evening, we will also have a live Q&A, so stay tuned for that. So now to the main event. Our speakers this evening include President Matt Scogin, Provost Dr. Katie Short-Thompson, and Associate Dean of Residential Life, Kristen Bachniak. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over to President Scogin.
Well, good evening and welcome to the start or the restart of your time at Hope College. As Ellen said, my name is Matt Scogin and I love this place. I had the privilege of attending Hope as a student. I graduated in 2002 and I've just wrapped up my first year as president. And the chance to be back home and serve an institution that served me so well as a student has been an incredible honor. If I haven't met you yet, I look forward to meeting you soon. You'll also get the chance to meet my family. We live right here on campus and we have 3 kids. My wife is Sarah. She also went to Hope. We met while we were students here at Hope, and we have 3 kids. They're actually out here in the Pine Grove playing right now, so you might see them in the background. As I said, we live here and we love living here. And the thing that we love most about living here is engaging with our students. As you can tell, our campus is pretty quiet right now and pretty empty. It's been this way since March, and it's not the way it should be. To be honest, there's a lot of things in our world right now that are not the way they should be. But we're a school that has a spirit, and our spirit is not one that dwells on despair. Rather, we're a people who see hope. And it's in that spirit, the spirit of hope, that we're excited to welcome you back to campus for the start of classes in just a little over 3 weeks' time. Our plan this evening is to give you an overview of what the fall semester will look like, and we'll also give you a chance to ask some questions and get some answers. But here's the bottom line. The bottom line is that getting through the fall semester will require all of us working together. That means it'll take your help, and I know you can do it. I know you can do it because you have already proven yourselves to be a gritty, resilient group of students. You've shown that you can do extraordinary things through extraordinary times. You've had to pivot abruptly from in-person classes to online classes. You've experienced the disappointment of canceled sports and canceled concerts and performances. And for our first-year students, many of you had to graduate high school in the middle of this global pandemic. You are an incredible group of students, and that's partially why we want you here so bad, because we know how incredible you are, and we know that you have a lot to contribute, and we know that you will make an impact. We're eager to have you back on campus. And throughout the summer, hundreds of people at Hope have been working day and night so that we could be ready to welcome you back to campus. To be honest, we chose the more complicated path. At this point, the path of least resistance would be to do all of our classes online. We decided not to do that. We decided to pick the more challenging path, to pick the more complicated path, because we want you here. And so over the summer, our faculty have made Herculean efforts to get ready for new formats of learning. Our operations team has redesigned the classrooms to make them safer. And we've incurred millions of dollars of expenses in order to give you a good experience and a safe experience. And we've done all of this because we want you back, and we want you back badly. We also know that you want to be back. We've been listening to you, we've heard you, and we've heard that the vast majority of you want to be back on campus. Some of you, I know, can't get here. You have specific circumstances that will prevent you from being on campus, and we will miss you. But we will also take care of you, and we will, through online classes, make sure that you stay on target for your planned graduation date. For those of you who will be able to join us on campus, the fall semester will not look normal. And to be upfront with you, there are some things about the fall semester that will not be particularly enjoyable or pleasant. There'll be some aspects of the fall that we simply won't like. But we're a student-centric institution, and we promise to make it as good of an experience as possible and also a safe experience. I know that a lot of you are probably feeling some nerves about being on campus, especially our first-year students. The transition to college is a big transition even in normal times, and you're making that transition in the middle of these extraordinary times. I'm guessing that a lot of you are feeling nerves of, will I be able to meet friends? Or what will it be like meeting people when I'm wearing a mask and doing some distancing? I want to assure you that you will make friends. You, in fact, will make lifelong friends during this semester. And I imagine you at your 5-year Hope College reunion, or your 20-year Hope College reunion, or your 50-year reunion. I imagine you sharing stories with lifelong friends that you've built during this semester about your time in the fall of 2020. You'll say things like, remember when we first met, you were wearing a mask. Those times were so weird. Here's what we're going to do together this fall. We are going to make memories together, and it's going to be good. It's going to be good. And ultimately, as curious people, as people who want to learn, as people who are intelligent observers of the world, and I know that all of you are those things, this is going to be an amazing semester to observe the world and learn together and discover together. In a few minutes, our provost, Dr. Katie Short-Thompson, is going to speak in more detail about what the classroom and academic experience will be like in the fall. Before we get to that, let me provide a few more specifics about some safety measures that we're putting in place to make our campus and our community safe in the fall. The purpose of these safety measures is to protect our community. We acknowledge the reality that most of you, our students, are at a low health risk. We're putting in safety measures as an act of love. We're putting in safety measures to protect our community. Our overall safety program is one that's founded in science. One of the amazing things about a college community is that we have so many intelligent people on our campus with expertise in different areas. We have one professor in particular, Dr. Ben Kopec, whose specific area of expertise includes virus replication. So Dr. Ben Kopec has helped us design a testing program that's innovative and it's robust. Here's how our testing program will work. We're going to start the year with a baseline test. What will happen is that a few days before you come to campus, we will send you a test kit where you will take a test at home. All of our students will take a test at home before they come to campus, and all of our faculty and all of our staff who will be working on campus will take the same test. It's a saliva test. You'll have to spit into a cup and then mail the cup. I'm kind of excited about spitting in a cup, to be honest. It'll be fun. This baseline test will give us an assurance, more or less an assurance, that we're starting the year with basically 0 cases of the virus on our campus. Then what we will do is we will do a daily surveillance test. How that will work is every day we will test 1% of our student population. There's roughly 100 days in the semester, and so over the course of those 100 days, all of our students will be tested at least once. In addition to that, we have a wastewater surveillance program that we're putting in place. 3 of our professors from the chemistry department, Dr. Aaron Best, Dr. Brent Krieger, and Dr. Mike Pickart, are experts in water quality. And they're going to take their research and their expertise in water quality and expand it this fall to help us monitor wastewater coming from certain buildings and zones on campus. So here's how this will work. It's really cool. It's really innovative. We're going to be monitoring wastewater from, as I said, certain buildings and zones on campus. So, for example, if we detect the prevalence of COVID-19 in wastewater coming from, say, Durfee Hall, just as an example, then we will test all students in Durfee Hall, and anyone who tests positive will quarantine, and that will allow us to mitigate the risk of a broader outbreak. It's pretty cool, and it's developed by our own scientists right here at Hope College. In addition to testing, we will have some health habits that will be required of all of our students and our faculty and our staff. This will include distancing. We'll do our best to physically distance from one another whenever possible. We'll also require face masks. We'll be wearing face masks in public places and classrooms and common areas. We'll provide you with some Hope College face masks, and you can wear the masks we provide, or you can wear your own. It doesn't matter. In addition to that, we'll do daily monitoring of symptoms. So this will include taking your temperature every day. Here we simply ask for your honesty. If you detect a slight temperature, report to the health clinic at Hope College. I know that there will be a temptation to, if you feel that slight fever coming on, or if you feel a little bit of a scratch in your throat, a slight temptation to ignore it. We just ask that you be honest and report it. And here's what I pledge to you. I pledge that I will be doing all of these things, and I will be doing all of these things to protect you and to protect our community. And in return, I ask that you do all of these things to protect me and to protect our faculty and our staff in our community. I'm confident, actually, that if we all do these things together, we'll get through the semester and we'll have a great time together. I want to say one more thing before wrapping up and turning it over to Dr. Katie Short-Thompson. I know that there's some concern over our tuition. Believe me, I share that concern. Our tuition is too high. And one of the things I've been talking about since I started as president last summer is making what we do at Hope. I believe in it so much. I'm a product of what we do at Hope. But I want to make what we do at Hope more affordable and more accessible. That's a long-term project. Give me some time to be successful. For now, I want to highlight two things that hopefully you know already. First of all, our college, I mentioned this, but our college is spending millions of dollars to make this fall a healthy experience and a good experience. We're investing in technology and training and equipment and COVID testing. It's millions of dollars of investment that we're investing and not passing on to our families. We're incurring that as cost. Second of all, I hope you know that our tuition right now, while it is very expensive, is an incredible value when compared to other schools. Let me give you one example. Hope College is ranked 23rd in the nation for undergraduate research. We happen to be tied in that ranking with Cornell University. Cornell University charges $74,000 a year for tuition, room, and board. That's 60% more than what we charge for what US News recognizes to be a pretty similar academic product. So hopefully that's somewhat responsive to some of the concerns regarding tuition. Speaking, by the way, of quality of our academic product, I also want to mention quality of our online classes. One thing I want you to know is that as we've been spending time over the summer, we have spent countless hours investing in the quality of our online classes. And you should know that our fall online classes will be good. Don't compare a Hope College online class to an online class somewhere else. It's different. It's going to be Hope College. Our online classes will be small, they'll be hands-on, they'll be high-touch, they'll be by the same professors who know you and know your name. Here's the reality. Different modality of learning, but same instructors, same ethos, same Christian faith foundation will underline all of our online classes. So with that, let me conclude, and let me conclude simply by saying thank you for how you have endured these times. I'm inspired by you, I really am. You are a gritty generation of students, and the crises that our world is going through right now will define you and they will shape you. And ultimately, they will make you better problem solvers and better agents of hope in the world. We're excited to go on that journey with you and help launch you into the world to be that, problem solvers and agents of the world. Yes, we're yearning to get through this time. I can't wait till COVID-19 is over, and one day it will be over. One day this will be behind us. But because we're a people of hope, we can at the same time simultaneously yearn for this to be over and live through this experience looking for signs of hope, looking for opportunities that exist in the here and now. That mindset is profoundly biblical because as Christians, we yearn for and long for the day when God will one day redeem this whole world. But we don't spend our whole lives waiting around for heaven. No, we look for chances to serve this world in the here and now, and we look for chances to find joy even in the midst of suffering. That's the mindset of hope. That's the mindset our world desperately needs right now. I can't wait. I can't wait to have you back. We're going to have a great fall together. Dr. Short-Thompson, let me turn it over to you to talk to the academics.
Well, thank you, President Scogin, and hello to everyone. It's just a pleasure to be with you tonight. I can't believe it's almost time. So I have to tell you, we have been planning and planning and planning for the longest time for this fall, and to be with you in the classroom and just to have this great experience with you as we enter into the fall. And as we planned for this fall, I have to tell you from the academic side of the house, we've really been focused on several things: high quality education, your health and safety and ours, and progress towards your degree completion. And so for those of you who are new students, welcome. We're really glad that you're coming. We're excited that you'll be here soon. We've been planning for you. And returning students, my goodness, welcome back, finally. It's been a long time since March. So I have to tell those who are returning, unlike spring semester, we have been planning and planning for far more time than we were given in March, where we had 2 weeks to plan for the plans to transition into remote operation. But this time, my goodness, we've had 14 weeks of time. And I will tell you that we have a top-notch extended academic team that's been working feverishly for those 14 weeks to prepare a new schedule and also create guidelines for safe and educationally sound classroom management, as well as to strengthen our online instruction offerings. So I'm excited about it, and I hope you will be too. Our faculty have been working in online instruction training camps themselves throughout the summer. Some faculty are teaching hybrid or online classes this fall, and they wanted to learn a few new tools and tricks for you and to engage you in subject matter in new and exciting ways. Other faculty are teaching face-to-face with you, but they wanted to be better prepared in case we have to go remote again for remote learning. So we're excited about the new tools and the new tricks, and we think you'll enjoy them as well. I have to say also, we've spent a ton of time thinking about your health and safety, and all of us are so familiar with these safety precautions now, aren't we? I mean, how many times have we been told to put on a mask, spread out, wash your hands? All of those things are true for us at Hope as well, and we've put them as the bedrock of our plans for academics this fall. In particular, I have to say that as we've planned for the fall, these precautions have really pushed us to spread out. And so, if you will, academics is sort of taking over a lot of physical spaces that we haven't ever been in before, and it's kind of fun and exciting. In each class, we're going to spread out a bit. So, for example, in one class where you might have had 24 students in person, you might have 12 this time. So each class will have fewer students. So if you came to Hope because you love the small classroom environment, oh boy, are you going to be thrilled. I will also say we've spread out throughout all of our buildings on campus. The whole point, folks, is we are stretching out, we are spreading out to keep you safe. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. We've been really thoughtful also about how to best structure our classes delivery mode. Because each class and each academic discipline, they're all different, as you well know. So each of those faculty members and departments and disciplines, they have different preferences, and they know best how best to teach their classes. So we've listened to them, and we've asked them, what's the best way to offer your class this fall? So we allowed them to really lead us to say, this is the best way to learn. And so that's what we're doing. And what you'll find, for those of you who are returning, you'll find some new ways of learning with your faculty at Hope. So it's important for you to know that our decision-making has been driven by your education and the quality of it, along with your health, all the way through our planning process, and particularly tailored to each discipline. So I have to say, we just deconstructed an entire schedule and then reconstructed an entire schedule, a whole fall semester schedule, in a little over a month. It's a task that usually takes 7 or so months. So when you see our registrar, please, please, please pat her on the back and her whole team and thank them for it. They're remarkable people. But let me just tell you a little bit more about our instructional modalities, and the president made reference to them, but I just want you to have a sense of what to expect. I think many of you know what to expect with a face-to-face class. It's an in-person class where you'll meet with your faculty and your peers in a classroom. And for many of you, it will feel largely the same. However, as the president also said, it'll look a little different and it'll feel a little different. I don't know about you, but I'm starting to get used to having a mask on my face, and I'm starting to get used to keep my distance. Being a hugger, it's a little challenging. But I will say that we have worked really hard to de-densify our classroom populations using those larger spaces I referred to earlier. And we're spacing out our students at least 6 feet apart, all facing forward, and also the faculty will be 8 feet apart from the students in the front of the class, often behind a 5x4 plexiglass board. And that's really just to minimize droplets, because when you speak a lot, there are a lot of droplets. We've also worked really hard with our physical plant to make sure that the airflow is increased, just to make sure that the air is healthy. So that's face-to-face, and you'll notice face-to-face is in most of your schedules, and primarily it's the majority of our classes. We have 2 kinds of hybrid classes this fall, and they're just essentially divided up a little bit different. A hybrid is obviously part in person, part online. And hybrid 1 refers to a division of the classes by days. So to keep it simple, let's just say 1 day is in person, 1 day is online. So for example, if you have a Tuesday, Thursday, 10 o'clock class, Tuesday you might have the class in person, and Thursday you might have the class online. And what that does, folks, is it allows us to double the usage of each of our classrooms with that hybrid designation, and allows us to spread out. The second one is called hybrid 2, clever name, huh? And it's divided by population. And some of those are essentially just dividing up the class size. So you might have a larger class of 30 students. And in this case, those 30 students would be divided into 2 classes of 15. So let's just say that I'm just gonna make this easy. Your last name is through A through M. It's not always gonna be arranged that way. But let's say A through M last name students might go on Tuesday in person. And on Thursday, they might be online. And conversely, the N through Z students might go on Thursday, and then on the other day, be online. So flip-flopping which populations are going on which days. So everyone will get to have time in class and time online with the professor as well. And then lastly, we have online courses. And there are 2 different kinds of online courses, as you may have heard. One is called an asynchronous class, and that simply means that the class is not dependent upon a class time. It's a bit more convenient, it's a bit more flexible, and it's also pretty clever and media rich. It uses a ton of digital tools of all sorts, and the professors will work to engage you in topics in various ways, and discussion groups. You'll have your tests and your papers all online. So the entire class will be online, and it's all not based on a specific time. Of course, the professor will make it perfectly clear to you what the activities will be and what your deadlines will be. So while there's not a time that you meet, there are times that things are due, as you would expect. And I'll tell you, I've taught these courses before, and if you're an introvert, you are about to shine if you have an asynchronous online class. It's where you literally find your best format. So next is synchronous online, and those are classes that actually do have a specific time for the class. And just like face-to-face classes, those classes would be held at a similar time. So for example, if normally you would meet in face-to-face at Monday, Wednesday, Friday, a synchronous online class would meet on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 o'clock online. So you have an assigned time to tune in online with your class. And you might be engaged with each other in new and creative ways there as well. Maybe you're going to be involved in Zoom calls or in breakout sessions, or you might be watching some sort of a film together and having a discussion about it live. There are so many different tools that can be used both in asynchronous and synchronous environments. I think that you'll really appreciate them. So let's talk a little bit about the breakdown of what to expect for the fall. We have 1,002 courses this fall, and just to give you a sense of what proportions of different classes are face-to-face or hybrid or online, here are the numbers as of today. So the traditional face-to-face classes, we have 512 of them, and they're 51.09%. So 51.09% are face-to-face. For hybrid, we actually have a total of 299 classes, or 29.84%. So again, hybrid is 29.84%. And they're roughly even between 1 and 2, hybrid 1 and 2. And then lastly, the online courses, there are 191 online courses, and they're about 19%. And so I will say this, regardless of the mode, as the president said, all of them will be same content, same learning outcomes, the same faculty, just meeting in different ways. We've gotten pretty creative and clever over the summer, I must say. So here are a handful of few norms that I just want the students in particular want to be mindful of as you think about approaching the classroom this fall. As the president mentioned, masks are the new thing on campus and everywhere. And so students and faculty will all be required to wear face coverings in classes and inside buildings. So if you arrive at class and you don't have a mask, you won't be allowed to stay because you need to have a mask on. Of course, if you've just forgotten it, perhaps the professor can provide one for you if they have extras, and we've been asking folks to have extras with them. So just know that for your safety and everyone's, a mask is going to be a requirement in any inside space. Secondly, we ask you to space out. It's not every day we say, hey, we want you to space out. It sounds kind of strange, but we do want you to have that distance from you to the next person. So keep each other safe in the classrooms by being at least 6 feet away from each other. outside, in the hallways, and more. And we're going to have to just learn some new norms as it relates to space. For those of you who like to have lots of space, you're going to be in your glory. So next thing I wanted to just share with you is if you think that you will need to miss class, it's really important to tell the professor in advance. And the best way to tell a professor who loves an email is to just email them. It's one of the simplest ways for you to notify a professor that you won't be able to be in class, for example, because you're not feeling well. And know that the biggest reason we want you to notify us that you'll be missing a class is because the faculty are planning to record every session that, that they host their class in whatever form, and especially when the students are not present. So if they have anyone absent, they will actually record the classes, and then afterwards they'll upload it in Moodle for you to participate later. The gist of it is we want everyone to be able to keep up regardless of the challenges that we face this fall semester. Next thing, as the president mentioned, we want you to pay attention to your health. And as he said, just be honest about it. If you have symptoms as you screen yourself, we want you to keep yourself and others well. So it's fine for you to just notify us and the faculty members that you are not feeling well, and we will absolutely make sure that you can keep up. And lastly, we're going to make sure that we're good at cleaning. We're going to do some cleaning. I don't know about you, but I've been washing my hands and using my sanitizer more than in my whole life. And we're going to provide students and faculty with disinfectant and wipes to take care of the classrooms in terms of the desks and any other items that they might use during class. So last couple things I want to share with you, just a few pieces of advice for students. So 48 hours or so before the semester begins, you can expect to hear from the faculty who are going to teach you this semester. And they really kind of want to just give you a running start via email. They'll share some information. They might share some information with you by Moodle. So one friendly piece of advice for you is to read your email and really check in with your faculty members. We just cram a ton into our email messages to students and to each other. So be sure to read your email, especially before the semester starts, because it'll help you get a good running start. And they'll have lots of tips and advice for you as they begin this semester, especially just explaining how your classes will work, how to navigate the buildings, all of it. As I mentioned before, make sure that you practice good hygiene, some great self-care. And the other thing I would just strongly advise is great self-advocacy. And what I mean by that is ask for help. If you need something, if anything at all is not clear, ask us. You will find Hope faculty and staff to be among the friendliest people around. It is our job to help you, and we are delighted to do so. So just, if anything's not clear, or if we use strange words, you just ask us. I mean it, we're all here to help. And lastly, as I mentioned, just read your syllabus closely, because it's going to be a little bit different than what you're used to. So whatever you need in terms of getting acclimated to online courses or hybrid courses, be sure to keep up and be sure to ask. And I will just say this, a lot more is the same this semester than is different. You can expect our values to be the same, our academic excellence to be the same, our relational faculty to be the same, and so much more. So just get excited. I know this has been an unusual time in all of our lives, but I just can't tell you how excited the faculty and I are to have you return to campus. And I just can't say enough about how committed we are to you and to your learning. And so now, to share some more information with you about your college experience here at Hope, I'm delighted to introduce you to someone who I've spent almost every single day of the last 4 months with, every morning and every afternoon. It's Kristen Bachniak. She's amazing. So welcome her, please.
Oh, thank you, Katie, for that introduction. Yes, Katie and I have spent a lot of time together because as I was introduced, I'm the Associate Dean for Residential Life and Education, but I'm also a member of the steering committee that's been working on COVID since March. So what I'm going to share with you tonight is some very specifics about housing, because that's what a lot of questions are. That's what a lot of people want to know is, what is that living situation going to look like? What are the regulations and policies around that? But then some also general processes that we have when we're looking at how COVID is going to play out in the outside of classroom experience. So first, I want to echo a little bit of what Matt was talking about, or President Scogin was talking about, is that we have a solid plan. Being on the steering committee, I can say we have a solid plan to keep ourselves safe, to keep ourselves as healthy as possible, and to stay in-person classes for the semester. But that plan means that we all have to be doing this. We all have to be pulling the same way together, and we all need to do our part. I've spent my career thinking about community and how community functions and how community affects people and each other. And this is what we all love about Hope. It's a community. What a community means is that you have to look outside of yourself. So you might not want to wear a mask. You might not want to do some of the safeguards. But what I'm telling you is that your individual actions affect our community. Your individual actions will keep us safe or will not keep us safe. It will keep us in person doing instruction, or it will force us to go online. So you all have to be doing your part to do these safeguards on campus, off campus, in the classrooms, in the residence halls, in your cottages and apartments, everywhere. You need to be mindful of the things that we know are going to keep us as safe and healthy as possible. One of the other things that you're going to have to do as part of the community is be a little uncomfortable sometimes. If your friend isn't wearing their mask, you need to be able to say, hey, put it on. If someone's getting a little too close, you need to be able to say, hey, 6 feet. Practice some different ideas how you're going to do this. But we know that we all need to take our individual responsibility, and we need to help remind others. It's not yelling at somebody, it's not calling them out, it is reminding them, hey, let's do these things that we've all agreed to as part of this community so we can stay here and we can stay healthy and we can stay in personal instruction. So with that, I'm going to transition to, one other thing, a COVID kit. So when you get to campus, our committee has put together a kit for you. That's going to have some personal care products. So like was mentioned, there will be a Hope branded mask that y'all will be able to have. There will be some personal safety supplies like hand sanitizer and wipes. There will be some fun things. There'll be a sticker, some stickers that are, you'll just have to wait and see. They're cute. And a silicone straw, because we were thinking today, like, how do you take drinks out of your water bottle with a mask on? So we bought everybody a straw that you can put in your water bottle and close in there if you want to, so you can have ability to stay hydrated in a creative way. So different. I think that's the gist of it. You've heard President Scogin say it. You've heard Provost Short-Thompson say it. We're going to be different, and we're going to be living into new norms. So we're just going to be making new patterns. So masks as a new norm. And we just need to embrace that a little bit. Okay, so shifting into some specific things about our campus living, housing. So as we've talked about the safeguards we're putting in place, we've thought about what are the basic needs of every student who's going to be on campus. And if you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you ever studied that in school, we talk about to be successful, you need to have food, and you need to have shelter, and for here, you also need to go to class. So those are the 3 primary functions and primary things that people need to do to function at Hope. So when we're looking at what our safeguards are and how we have kind of structured those spaces we're trying to make you have the most control over how you engage with that, and that we have the set safeguards in place in those spaces. So living, this is what I'm going to talk about. So when we think about living, we have a lot of different options. We have residence halls, we have cottages and apartments. So I'm going to talk about a lot of those in a little bit of a different way. But you're all going to have a personal residence. You're all going to have your room that is yours, or yours and your roommates. For this year, because we know that we want everyone to have control over their personal space, we're saying your room is just for you. You're not going to have guests in Hope College students or non-Hope College students in your private room, because that's how we can safeguard and take the responsibility of saying you have control over your space. But let's be honest, you could say to me, but my roommate and I can negotiate that, who we would want to have over. Yes, but there's always times, I bet everybody can think of a time that you're like, I really don't agree with this person, but they're my new roommate and I don't want to rock the boat, or they're my best friend and I don't want to do that. This is too important for us to risk that kind of negotiation on this. So we're saying your room is your space that you can control with you and your roommate. The cohorts. So we've talked about cohorts. Cohorts are simply the people that you're living with. They're the people that you're living with and sharing a bathroom with, if that helps you think about it. So in residence halls, those are the people who are on your floor. And those spaces are the hallways and the bathrooms and the suite. If you're in Cook Hall, your suite is your cohort. In cottages and apartments, it's your whole apartment or it's your whole cottage. Those are your cohort of people. When we look at that, we can then say, how do the safeguards apply to that cohort of people? What we don't know yet is how face coverings will apply to your cohort of people. we want to wait for a little bit longer to make a final determination on that, because our Michigan executive orders have been such that they've dictated some of that for us. So we want to make sure that we're going to be in line with the laws and rules that we're required to maintain before we figure that out. We are going to say keep distance when possible. So keep that 6 feet of distance, because as I'll talk a little bit about later, what puts us at high risk for exposure to COVID is direct contact, so those droplets coming on us, which is why we wear our masks, and close contact, so being within 6 feet of a person for 15 minutes or more. So that ups our risk. So if we maintain that 6 feet, then that reduces the risk, right? So that's why. So again, in the cohort spaces, we're still saying keep that distance. We're also saying only the people who are part of that cohort can be in that physical space, with the exception of cottage apartments. I'll get there in a minute. So only people on that floor, in that cluster, in that suite of cook are able to be in those spaces. So those are kind of our cohort spaces. Individual rooms, we've talked about. Cohort spaces, common areas. So common areas in residence halls are lobbies and lounges and laundry rooms and game rooms. In cottages and apartments, that's your kitchen, your living room, basements, all of that. So in halls, non-residents can be in common spaces if they're with a resident, which is our policy always. You can't be in a residence without somebody who also lives there. In those common spaces, in a residence hall, you have to have your mask on and you have to stay 6 feet of distance, like every other common space on campus. In cottages and apartments, people can come and visit you there as long as the resident is there. Again, same kind of thing. So we're treating them as common spaces. But if there's somebody in your space who isn't part of your cohort, people need to wear masks and they need to stay 6 feet apart. So that does limit you. A living room can only hold so many people 6 feet apart and masked. So but that's still a common space that you can socialize in. So some might be saying, how are we going to build community? How is this going to connect? How am I going to see people? I can tell you when I think about these things and creating new norms, y'all are going to do this. You're super creative. And you're going to take the structure that we've given you and you're going to make it your own. That's part of what's beautiful about Hope College students. You always make things your own. So I know that that's what you're going to do. And I also know if I walk into Durfee Hall, there can be 5 doors open and they're playing video games in their separate rooms on a shared system, yelling at each other through the hallway. That's socially distant. That fits in our guidelines. I can also tell you when I was a hall director of Gilmore Hall, I'd walk up on the floor and there'd be people sitting in the hallways chatting. And that can still happen. You can be 6 feet apart and have those conversations, maybe from a door to across the hall or in the hallway and you're in your bedroom. It's just gonna, again, be some different norms. So that's housing for the year. Move-in. As y'all know, we're gonna do a staggered move-in process. First year students and early arrivals, you've already gotten your assignment for when you're gonna be there. Returning students, you'll be getting that at the beginning of next week. What we have done is taken every physical building and divided space and are moving in a small group of people in a time block. So there's 3 time blocks in a day, a 3-hour time block. You will have that time block to move all your things into your space. When you get here, well, when you get your email, you'll be directed to what central kind of check-in area you'll get. And you'll get your key, we'll make sure all your paperwork's done, and you'll get a map. And you'll get a map that tells you you're gonna use this door of the building to unload and load your things. Again, we're trying to have control over the flow of people who are in and out of those doors. There'll be some folks there to hold doors open and whatnot, but you're gonna be moving your things within that 3-hour time block. First year students, anybody can come with you to help move your things in, but you have to be out within that 3-hour time period. So you've got that time period to get your things, help set up, and then we're asking you to leave. Except the resident, of course, you can stay there. Returning students, we're asking if you're able to limit your helpers to 1 person, that would be wonderful. If you're not, there's some sort of different circumstances and you need to have more people, that's fine. But if you're able to limit to 1 person, that would be wonderful, so we can again limit that space. there's a little bit of a different kind of sense of goodbye from your first time from college to maybe your third or fourth year doing that. So, but again, you'll have that 3-hour block to move your things in. We also ask that you coordinate with your roommate so you understand when their move-in time is and you leave the room. Go do a walking tour on campus, go shop down on 8th Street, do something else that lets you get out of the space and give them the space to move in and settle in with their friends and family. What to bring. We're not limiting anything that you can or can't bring to campus, but I would say be mindful of it. Think about how these safeguards are going to play out in life for you and decide what you're going to need to have in your room. Or know that we might have to change to remote learning at some point, which means you might have to move. So maybe you don't bring everything that you might have brought last year, this year, or everything that you might think of. Just give yourself maybe a little bit of a pause and say, how will I need that? How will I use that this year? And know that it needs to also be brought into the room with you or who you're bringing with you in that 3-hour time period. Okay, so that's housing. Now we're going to talk about food. So again, we want people to have control over how they're eating and where they're eating. So there is going to be a lot of grab and go options at different places. So some of those are going to be from the Klutz Market. Some of those are going to be from Cup and Chaucer. Some of those are going to be from Phelps and Cook. Everybody is going to have the ability to go through a line and get their food to go, and then they can do that. Our dining folks are working with Ottawa County Health Department to understand how we could set up our dining room so there can still be in kind of dining in dining room dining in Phelps. So I think we are still working with them to understand what the policies of this is, but what you should feel good about is knowing that we are in conversation with them and we're going to have a plan in place that is approved by our local health officials that they feel good and confident that will keep us, again, safe and healthy. Okay, events and student organizations. So there's been a group of people working on how are we restructuring events. So SAC has been thinking, how are they going to do things a little bit differently? Intramurals have been thinking about how do we have competition that has a distance, and we've come up with some pretty creative ideas. And again, I know you all are going to come up with a lot more creative ideas. And we're giving some thoughts to templates of how can you plan an event for your student group or organization that will live into those safeguards. So again, those will look different. There will be a new normal at that. There'll be a different kind of way that we're planning, but that same great experience of involvement in student organizations will be on campus. Rest assured. It will also be virtual because there's going to be a handful of you who say, we're going to move that event and we're going to put it online. And so those of you who are doing distance learning, you're going to have an opportunity to engage in some of the other parts of Hope College, even from a distance, because student organizations and student groups are going to put that online. One of those big things is going to be the chapel program. So unfortunately, there isn't a way for us to do in-person chapel to maintain the safeguards in the spaces that we have. So there's going to be virtual chapel at our normal times. There are going to be Bible study offerings, and again, those will be in classrooms or virtually or in different spaces to keep our safeguards. So the second to last thing I'm talking about is accountability. So what we've heard questions are like, so what if somebody doesn't do this? What if somebody doesn't wear their mask? And this is my job. I tell folks all the time, here's our communities, here's our policies. We want you to live into them. And we want everybody to be doing everything that we ask at Hope College, whether that's in our handbook, in our housing agreement, or our COVID policies all the time, because they are motivated to be a good community member. But we know that just doesn't always happen. So we are going to use our standard judicial process for policies that are broken with our COVID safeguards. That's the word I'm looking for. So there will be a link on the website that will be an open, centralized reporting form for concerns for student behavior around COVID policies and student health. So anybody will be able to have access to that, and you'll be able to report a student group or a student who isn't maintaining safeguards, or you're concerned about their health and well-being. So one place that both of those kind of things come in, and then If it's a policy violation, it will be adjudicated through our judicial process. If it is a, I'm concerned about someone's health or safety, we will follow up with that student individually to ensure that they're doing okay. So that is the individual process. We also are looking at how do we hold student groups accountable. So again, we are asking all student organizations to be creating events and experiences that follow all of the safeguards we have in place. Because we know that those events and experiences impact our health and well-being and our ability to maintain in-person instruction while we're here, whether that event is on campus or off campus, we are going to adjudicate groups and individuals if they are not following the safeguards while holding events. One of the things that we're going to lean into that we've done for a long time is with our Greek life chapters, we have risk management policies that say, give us good guidance on how many people would constitute a gathering, what the language around a group or event or gathering would be to make it an affiliation with a student organization. So if a student group or organization hosts an event that is on campus or off campus and doesn't follow those safeguards, the individuals from that organization who are planning it, or the leaseholders or the contract signers of those events will be held personally accountable through our judicial process. And if it's seen that there is a group affiliation, the group will be held accountable through our judicial process with consequences because of that. So accountability measures in there. The last thing that I want to talk about is if somebody gets sick. So isolation and quarantine. We've talked about it a little bit, but here's some more specifics. We have a number of beds that we have already placed on reserve on campus that we will be moving people who need to be isolated or quarantined to. We also have some reserved at an off-campus, it's some off-campus hotel to just have us as a safeguard. We feel like we're going to be able to manage everything on campus, but just in case, we are planning to have overflow in another location again, so we can manage anything that we might come across in the semester. So the defining terms, isolation is the sick person or the person who's tested positive. So those folks will be moved to an independent space by themselves for the duration of their illness until our health department releases them from isolation. Quarantine is the people who have at the highest risk of becoming sick because of their contact with a sick or a tested positive person. Again, what we use for that, well, Ottawa County Health Department is going to be doing contact tracing in conjunction with Hope Partners to understand who are the people that somebody who is tested positive has been in close contact with who will need to be quarantined. Again, those guidelines that we use for that contact tracing is one, direct contact. So I passed by you and I sneezed and I had some kind of direct contact with bodily fluids, or close contact. And again, close contact is defined as more than 15 minutes, less than 6 feet apart. So when they have those close contacts, then those folks would be quarantined. Again, if we are keeping our safeguards with masks and distance, very few people should be falling into this high risk category because of their exposure to somebody. So again, that's again why we're going back to having those things in place. So the other thing about contact tracing, looking at a couple notes, this is another place to be honest. So if you are in a position where you're sick, or you've tested positive and you're answering the questions of the people that you've been in close contact with, we need you to be honest. We can't have you say, I don't want to put my friend in a place where they're going to have to be quarantined. That doesn't matter at this point. Our ultimate goal is to be safe. And so you need to be honest in that time, if you're in that place, to make sure that we're getting everybody the help and the safety that they need. For movement, like I said, we'll move folks who need to be isolated into their own space. They can go home. So if you are isolated or quarantined, you could go home. There's some specific CDC guidelines on travel and what you need to do to quarantine or isolate at home that you would be ready to maintain as a family if you were to make that choice. So make sure you're making an informed choice when you're looking at that. And likely quarantined students will also be moved to a separate space. There is the off chance of there's an apartment of 4 people, one person gets sick, the other 3 are deemed as close contacts, so they could stay quarantined in their apartment. But again, that's just all dictated by what our close contacts and our contact tracing tells us. And like Dr. Short-Thompson said, if you're in those places, you'll still have access to class, and you'll continue with your coursework. So with that, I think I'm going to stop, and we're going to be moving back into questions. So Ellen.
Great. Thanks so much to President Scogin, Provost Short-Thompson, and Associate Dean Bachniak for all of your helpful information tonight. Our first question is going to go to Jennifer Fellinger, our Vice President for Public Affairs and Marketing. And Jennifer, if you could just talk to us a little bit more about details and logistics of the spit testing, the timeline for that, and a little bit more about surveillance testing, that would be great.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks for being here, and thanks for your interest and your great questions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of tick through the testing related questions that I'm seeing, and I'm going to go as quickly as I can because I know there are a lot of questions in the queue here. I do encourage you, if you have follow-up questions, if I wasn't clear about something, please feel free to send us a request for clarification at campushealth@hope.edu. So first question looks like from Helen. How can we ensure the test is sent to the correct address for where we will be located prior to school? The program that we're using for the at-home test kits works like this. You'll get an email, and with the email, you'll be able to provide your address. So it won't necessarily default to your residential address. You might be on vacation at a cottage by the lake. You can put in that address. So you'll be able to put the address where you are. Angela is asking about the opportunity to get tested at home with the CDC. Angela, great question. We actually haven't considered that. And so if you wouldn't mind following up with that same question, send it to campushealth@hope.edu, and I'd actually love to talk to you about that opportunity. Let's see, will wastewater also be tested at cottage housing? So right now, the way that wastewater is working is that the testing is kind of divided by residential zones on campus. And the cottages are kind of in the most challenging zone, trying to figure out how we set those zones up and how the cottages will be tested. So we're working on that right now. The great news is that the 3 faculty members who are leading this effort are working closely with the city. And so I'm confident that working with the city, we're going to figure out how these zones work and take care of that. So let's see what else. I think the next one is, if students are arriving early for something like RA training, will they receive the home test kit early? Yes, you will. Thanks for asking that question. We'll be sending out the emails kind of in the order of your scheduled move-in date. For those who are living off campus, for international students or other students who are already on campus, we'll be communicating with you on the arrangement for that. But yes, you will. The people that are moving in earliest will receive the testing kit earliest, if that makes sense. What type of test will be used for surveillance testing? So we are going to be using, for the daily surveillance testing, most likely that will be an antigen test. And it will be, hopefully, I want to just reiterate that testing, as you probably know, is very much a fluid issue right now. So our focus is to set up a multi-pronged approach to testing so that we can, to the best of our ability, secure supplies and secure turnaround times. So we are working hard, we're working quickly, and we're working with several providers to do just that. So our plan right now for the surveillance testing is to do a daily testing of 1%. That's an antigen test. We're hoping for a rapid result, so we would get the result very quickly. And I'm not sure if this is what the question means, but it is a nasal swab, but it's in the lower cavity. So it's not the deep nasal swab that you've probably seen. Okay, let's see. If enough people test positive before the students arrive, do we make a choice to keep the students at home? So what will happen is when you get those at-home kits, you'll take the test. If you're positive, you will receive further instruction. So basically, you won't want to come onto campus until you finish your 14-day quarantine. So that may make your arrival a little bit late, and we'll work with you individually on that. Again, the hope there, the goal is to have a 0 baseline. So when we start school, a baseline of 0 cases on campus. So there will be daily tests on 1% of the students. How long does it take to get the results back? We're hoping for rapid result, and that's typically about 15 minutes for the rapid result. We're still working with providers to secure that. Angela asked, it's not quite a testing question, but Angela's asking about Harvard releasing data that talks about how the virus spreads. So right now, we are using CDC guidelines for issues related to transmission and understanding how we clean the classrooms, how we distance in the classrooms. We'll continue to work from CDC guidelines. If those guidelines change based on research or published research, we will work as quickly as we can to adapt to those guidelines. So the guidelines are CDC. Those are the ones that we're following. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just looking through the list here. I think I got them all. I'm not seeing any other ones. Again, if you have questions about the tests, who will be performing these tests? We'll have professional staff staffing the testing process. And the tests are mandatory. Yes, we want 100% of students taking the test because, again, we want a 0 baseline coming into the fall semester. I'm gonna bounce it back to you, Ellen.
Yeah.
But again, if you have any questions, if there were questions that were not answered, please do email us, and we will work as hard as we can to get you the questions, get you the answers. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that. That was a lot of information. Next, we're going to go to Gerald Griffin, who is our Associate Provost. And Gerald, if you could talk to us about how Hope makes sure that online courses are higher quality than other schools. We also have a question about what do in-person labs look like? And then are online or in-person classes recorded?
Sure. Thanks, Ellen. I want to start off just saying that we've been offering online courses since 1999 here at Hope. And so that really makes us a leader, not only with our fellow colleges in the Great Lakes College Association, but really with liberal arts colleges in general all over the country. So we've been doing it for over 2 decades, and it's been pioneered by some really great leaders, Professors Tom Ludwig and Barry Banstra, and we're continuing working with other leaders on campus to build upon that foundation. Also note that all of our courses, lectures will be recorded, particularly those that are online. And again, if we have students who aren't in class that day, even the face-to-face or in-person courses will also be recorded, just so that, number one, students can go back and review that information, as well as students who may not be in the class directly can receive it, both live as well as asynchronously. I also just want to point out that this digital infusion of our courses, all of our courses, whether it be face-to-face or hybrid or online, really allows for us to fully embody the mission of college, particularly in this time right now, is that we are able to speak to developing global leaders. We are speak to producing those global leaders that will bridge communities, right, that oftentimes have barriers amongst them. And so we are employing things like Zoom with breakout rooms, in addition to having small group discussions where professors and instructors can work one-on-one and in small groups, even in a remote digital format, as well as meet remotely as well with one-on-one office hours. And so we can have those discussions about that holistic development that is so important for us to relationally engage with our students. Lastly, in transitioning to the work about research and laboratory, some of those active learning exercises that we are doing and have been doing, and we've had a number, over 20 workshops to even hone the skills of even more instructors this summer, and those workshops are ongoing, is that part of that active learning is performing research with students. So we have remote research that has still been going since May, and we have students on campus right now performing research in our laboratories and our office spaces. And so with labs, what they're looking like now is that they are distant. So student researchers are 6 feet or more from each other. We also have plexiglass that's being installed as well as in some labs already. And so a combination between the distancing, the plexiglass, as well as enhanced PPE or personal protective equipment. Right now, all of our laboratory students are at least wearing gloves, if not goggles, in addition, masks. Well, they're always now all would be wearing masks in addition to the normal PPE that's required for that specific laboratory and research experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Next question, I'm going to call on President Scogin and Jennifer Fellinger to maybe tag team this one. But if you could come back on and talk to us about how with increasing cases and other organizations choosing to go remote, is this really prudent for us to be in person? And if something shifts, how will we know when it's time to go back online?
Yeah, thanks, Ellen. That's a great question. I'll say a couple of things. First of all, we are monitoring very closely what's happening in our community and around our country, around the world. And we're also staying in regular contact with our county health commissioner. Given what we see now, the answer is yes. We believe it's prudent to be here in person. I'll actually go even further than that. We also believe, and this is somewhat counterintuitive, we believe it's actually safer for our community. It's actually safer to have our students living and learning on campus than not living and learning on campus. Because as you've heard, we have a very robust and comprehensive disease surveillance program in place. And when our students are living and learning on campus, they're under our purview. They're under that surveillance program. When they're not on our campus, they're not under that surveillance. There was a study done at Cornell University that was released just a couple of weeks ago. And what the study found, it's an epidemiological study that does model for Cornell, but what they found is that for college campuses where a significant portion of the students are living in that geography anyway, and that's true at Hope, a large percentage of our students are living in this region anyway, their conclusion, and our conclusion also, is that it's actually safer. It's safer for our community to have our students on campus under our disease surveillance program than to not have them on campus. So that's the first answer. The answer is yes, we believe it's prudent. In fact, we actually would go further than prudent. We would say it's actually safer to have our students on campus. Second part of the question was, when will we know when we have to go remote? What we've said is there are two things that would trigger us to have to go back to remote. The first is that the government tells us we can't be open. That's pretty obvious. If the government gives us guidance saying we can't be open, we will not be open. The second is that there might be local health conditions where we feel like it's no longer prudent for us to be open. So either if the government tells us to go remote, we'll go remote, or if there's some conditions locally where we feel it's no longer safe, it's no longer prudent for our community to be open, then we'll go remote. Jennifer, what else would you add to that?
I think you stated everything that I was going to say, President Scogin. I just would reiterate that we have a very close partnership with the Ottawa County Department of Health and the medical director there. We meet regularly with them. We ask them questions all the time. They're very responsive. So we're very blessed to have such a strong partnership so that we can get advice from them. We can also get a sense of maybe some things that are coming down the road. So thanks to that partnership, I feel like we do have a sense of good guidance, but also some guidance. We can see what guidance we might expect as well.
Great. Thank you both. A question for Tim Schoonveld from athletics. Just wondering what fall sports might look like, and how does ending the semester early at Thanksgiving time impact the sports that sort of are taking off during the winter time?
Yeah, thanks, Ellen. I think athletics right now are under kind of three different purviews. So one would be the college in general and the safety from county guidelines. And then we'd also talk about our league guidelines from the Michigan Intercollegiate Athletic Association, and then the NCAA. And so right now we're kind of working under all three of those and trying to make some decisions in regard to things. So as of today, we're planning on continuing to move forward with athletics for the fall. Obviously, that could change in some different capacity. There's supposed to be some NCAA rulings and some league rulings that come down in the next week or so that may make some changes. All of that would be under the guidelines of the state and county phase-in procedures. And so it mainly would start off in the fall with some small group activities and team types of things. And then potentially as things improve, that would continue to move forward to more advanced things. But we are at least today moving forward with that. There hasn't been as much talk on the winter season yet because we're just focused on kind of getting the fall moving. But I think, again, that would be another example where we're planning on moving forward. We're waiting really as long as we can before we have to make any decisions to sort of cancel or postpone anything. We want to give ourselves the best chance to have an idea of where we're at. I think, Ellen, if I can, there's two other questions I saw. One was facilities and fans and spectators. I think our first goal right now is to keep our campus safe. So that's the first priority for us. The second priority is for our teams to be able to compete. And then the third priority would be to think about spectators and fans. And so we're going to kind of keep addressing those as they come. And I can also say for athletics too, the college has stepped up and is committed to multiple layers of testing. The NCAA has put in place some strong recommendations for testing if there were to be competitions or practice activities. And so the college is committed and ready to do those things as necessary and if needed.
Thank you so much for answering all those questions. This next question is for Provost Short Thompson. So if she can come back on the screen, what will the class or course experience look like if a student is in quarantine or in isolation?
Yeah, thanks for the question. It's an important one, and we've thought a lot about it. And so the quick answer is that it will essentially mimic the experience that they would have if they were still in class. So we are arranging to have all of our faculty record their class sessions and to then upload those recordings as well as provide the materials that they may have missed. In the cases where the students are well enough to participate live, we may do live streaming and have them able to participate from their rooms. So we've been really thoughtful about how to keep them on pace and to not let folks fall behind. As you all know, this is just a little different in terms of, typical sickness. We're not thinking about 2 weeks, we're thinking about maybe a day or two, but now we need to make sure that our students keep up and are able to complete their courses.
Thank you so much. This next one is for Bruce Benedict, representing Campus Ministries. Bruce, we love our chapel time and we love being together to worship. What can you tell us about how Campus Ministries will continue to have opportunities for faith formation despite the pandemic?
Yeah, so our chaplains and all of our student leaders are so bummed that we won't be able to be live in chapel and gathering this fall. Although I do have to say that spending time in Dimnit in August is really hot. And so I think, this gives the college another opportunity to think about air conditioning for Dimnit Chapel, which would be really amazing. But lots of other faith formation opportunities. We have over 60 Bible studies and small groups that will be running this semester. We have 180 student leaders that will be all over campus that will be available for prayer and for worship. Colleges, social distance opportunities outside. So I think that like you all have mentioned, students will improvise and will find ways to really serve each other and to continue the spiritual formation that we love here at Hope.
Thanks, Bruce. Now over to Kristen Gray. What will counseling be like for students who want to come to the Counseling and Psychological Services office? What can they expect and how will that happen this year?
Thanks, Ellen. CAPS will be available to our students just like we always are. We know that this is a time of a lot of change, and change is stressful, right? So change to college is stressful, change to the format of classes is going to be a little stressful. Not being able to spend that time in the building of the chapel. We still are going to worship, but all those little changes are stressful. And so we anticipate that we will get to talk to a lot of our students this fall. Counseling, will not be seeing students in person. We'll be doing telemental health and phone consultations. And so students will be able to call CAPS, set up a time to work with a specific person, and we will do a link to the forms and to the assessments that we need, and we will be available. I think it's also really important to know that we have added to the robustness of our after-hours services. And so we're in the office during the daytime and during the weekdays, but on evenings, night, overnight, and on weekends, we have someone available immediately from when you call our number. So it doesn't matter the day or the time. If you need or want to talk to a counselor, you will just call the CAPS number, and then you'll be able to talk to someone. So we're feeling really good about the depth and breadth of availability of counseling. We will be doing group counseling like we've done for years now. So we'll have that available online, which is going to be kind of exciting. And our regular appointments as well. So we're ready, and we're looking forward to working with our students.
Awesome.
Thanks, Ellen.
Thank you so much. Dan Zare from Residential Dining. We just want to know, how will students in quarantine or isolation get their food? What will the process be for that?
Hey, good evening, everyone. We are working extremely hard to try and make this as seamless as possible. Our team of chefs and service managers and everybody on my Dine at Hope team is really working day and night to make sure that we get you the food that you need. We are committed. You will receive breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week if you are in quarantine or isolation. That is a fact, and right now we are simply just working out the details of how to do that effectively, how to make sure that we get it to you and limit the risk for everybody involved. They will be delicious meals. They will be hot when they're supposed to be hot and cold when they're supposed to be cold. So our goal is to provide you with the nutrition you need. It's going to be unfortunate at times when you're in quarantine or isolation. We're going to try and make that a little bit easier for you with some good food so that you can enjoy if you have to participate in one of those activities.
That sounds great. I am just missing the Klutz Market so much. Can't wait to enjoy a sandwich from there. Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome.
This one goes back to Provost Short-Thompson. Katie, for education majors who've already lost half a semester of clinical placements, what will that look like for staying on track and meeting their placement hours, whether it's elementary or secondary, and especially if those K through 12 schools are remote?
It's a great question, and it's one that our education department's working on as we speak. You can imagine that all of our professional majors have these different practical experiences and internships that require them to be someplace other than on our campus. So it's a bit complicated. I know that right now, every education major in the country and perhaps world is dealing with some of the same challenge wherever you go to school. So it's our hope that we'll have some sort of virtual option if we're not actually able to address being in the schools the full time. But it's going to be a challenge if there are some schools that close. And so we're working feverishly to try to get ahead of it and to try to have those situations addressed before the term starts.
I was on mute. Next question is for Cindy Sabo, who's the director of our health center. Cindy, who will monitor the sick students? Can you just give us some confidence and advice for those who do get sick while they're at school?
Yes, we have, our health center is staffed by registered nurses, physician assistants, and physicians. So they will be the same professionals monitoring your students no matter what the illness, whether it's COVID or influenza or mono or a cold. some of our visits are going to be virtual. So if we have, say, a student that's in isolation because they have a positive test, we are going to visit them virtually at least once a day, be able to put eyeballs on them, see how they're doing. All students have an after-hours number. So if things get severe when we're closed, they can call the on-call doctor and ask if things are severe enough, if they need to go to the emergency room, or provide some other direction on how to take care of their illness. So we are going to be there monitoring them, most likely virtually, but definitely if the student and or we feel that there's some concern for distress there, we're going to get them to the emergency room as needed. I would also like to just add, if I can, we are also, our health center, the college has given us the opportunity to have, I'm going to call it a clean health center and a not so clean health center. All of our COVID testing and students who have COVID-like symptoms will come to a separate facility for that, so that our regular health center will not, those students, the sick students aren't going to interact with the well students. So a student coming in for the flu vaccine isn't going to have to be worried about crossing paths with somebody that's coming in for a COVID test. So they're going to be two totally separate spaces so that we can keep that divide there.
Great, thank you. All right, I was asked to speak a little bit about the PUL and NYKirk. We love our even and odd year traditions at Hope. And what I can say at this point is we are still figuring some things out. And for sure, things will likely look different, right? But we will try to honor those traditions as best we can. If something can't take place in the fall, maybe it will take place in the spring. We will figure that out as we move forward. Next question is for Kristen Bachniak. Kristen, can you talk about having visitors, a little bit more on having visitors to your living space, travel on the weekends, anything about shared spaces in cottages and apartments?
Yeah. So visitors, yes, visitors can come to campus. They can't visit you on your floor or in your private living space. So that is where visitors can't be, but they can still be on campus. They can be in common spaces in the living units, and they can be around campus with you as a student. No overnight guests as well, then. I think that kind of goes without saying with those policies, but just want to be clear. Cottage and apartment living. So the CDC has given us some guidelines on communal living. So there's some different guidelines about bathroom usage, about cleaning and what should be cleaned on a more regular basis, and cooking. And so we will be, we modified our community agreements for the cottages and apartments to specifically ask some of those questions. So your RA will lead you through kind of some of the questions of how are we going to do this as a unit, following or taking into consideration the guidelines that we've been given by the CDC for communal living. So that will be part of your initial conversation with your cottage about how are we going to set this up. A big part of it is doing your own cooking and cleaning and washing things right after you're done. So you're not leaving things out, not storing your belongings in the bathroom, but taking them back into your personal bedroom and not in the bathrooms.
Some of those things just feel like good adulting skills that you should develop while in college. Thanks, Kristen. Back to Tim Schoonveld for another question on athletics. Tim, is there any consideration to cloistering sports teams together as a cohort? And what kinds of precautions will be in place for visiting sports teams that may come to campus?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I think they'll obviously be put together as a cohort. I think, at least the way I understood it with Kristen, the cohorts are mainly like living residences and where people are staying. But they'll obviously be spending a lot of time with their teams. There's a fairly robust testing mechanism that's in place where our athletes would be tested significantly more if they were together and doing that, that will be part of it. And then there's also like some league mandates we've been spending all summer with health and safety committee within the league, team doctors and head athletic trainers and all of that have been meeting together to talk about standards that we would all put in place if we were to have competition and how that would look. So I think, excuse me, there's been pretty significant standards put in place. And then obviously based on like the NCAA phase-in stuff and the guidelines from the state and the county, there'd be pretty significant. There would be no contact, at least initially, and there would be no way to be able to have athletics or at least competition until you are allowed to have contact, you know, down the road. So we've also made some adjustments to schedules in terms of league and pushed start dates back to give a little bit more time, and have maintained a league only schedule right now. So then if we can adhere to the standards around the league, that provides a safer alternative for those, provided we can have competition. So thank you.
Great, thanks so much. Question back to Dan Zaire. Dan, can you just talk a little bit about how in the cafeteria there will be practiced the safe social distance as well as other precautions for safety?
Yeah, absolutely. And all of our dining locations, whether that is residential dining and being Cook Hall or Phelps Dining Hall, as well as our retail outlets, including the Kletz Market and Cup and Chaucer, every location will have clearly marked social distancing on the floors through floor clangs and other stickers that show you where to stand and really make it easy for you. There will also be several lines, call them carnival lines of sorts, that will be made up with stanchions that easily direct students where to go, where to stand, and how to navigate the dining halls and the retail outlets. As stated before, we are working diligently with the Ottawa County Department of Health. We currently have 3 different plans to open depending on the guidance that we're given from them. It starts out by following current restaurant guidelines in the state of Michigan, allowing for up to 50% capacity. And then it goes all the way down to Plan C, which allows for in and out service, really. It's all grab and go, no dine in. So we've got social distancing mapped out for all 3 different scenarios. And our coordinator of media and communications for dining services is working hand in hand with public affairs and marketing to make sure that our social distancing and dining services looks and is consistent with all messaging across campus. So there won't be anything super different that's confusing when you come in the dining halls.
That's awesome. Back to Kristen Bachniak with another question. We have lots of questions that have come in about students traveling home or away on the weekends or wondering if their parents can visit. What's allowed this year?
Okay, getting all my buttons done. Jennifer Fellinger might help jump in with this question as well. As far as parents in the halls, they can be in common spaces, cannot be on the floors, cannot be in private residences. They can be there in that time window when you're helping move your student in. That is fine. Travel off campus, we're not saying you need to stay on campus. You can go to Meijer, you can go downtown, you can move around. We're asking that you practice safeguards in some of those trips, because again, you're going to be coming back to our campus and keeping it clean. But by no means are we saying you cannot leave campus. Weekend travel, Jennifer, do you want to field that?
Yeah, thanks, Kristen. And thanks for asking that question. I can tell people are committed to really having a safe campus. So thanks for that. So just to reiterate what Kristen said, we are not prohibiting travel to and from campus. But what I ask and what we ask is that you limit your travel to and from campus. We understand, like Kristen said, you have to go to the store, you want to go home and visit your parents on the weekend. But when you do that, be responsible, practice the safeguards, as if you are on campus. So all of the things that you're doing, face covering, social distancing, washing your hands, keeping your things clean, we ask that you honor those same safeguards so that when you do come back, you are coming back with a less likely with the virus. I know that somebody asked, will you be tested if you go off campus? No, unless you're part of the random daily sample, we wouldn't require that when you come on campus that you be tested. And I do think, just responding to a couple of the sentiments, we know that during the fall semester, we will have the virus on campus. I just want to make sure that we acknowledge that. So we're not naive. We don't think that we're going to prevent the virus from coming on campus. We do believe we can mitigate the spread and we can reduce the risk. And so your behavior off campus is just as important as it is on campus. So we ask that you follow those precautions and that you limit the travel as much as you can.
Oh, and one other comment, there was a question about living off campus. And again, I did talk about kind of off-campus events and things that are not following our guidelines in those ways that can come onto campus. But in a private residence, again, you can have all of these tools. I will share. Somebody asked, can we share the community agreement that we use in college apartments for off-campus? Yes, we'll post that up online, and you can use it. It's a Google form. You can take all of those questions and use all of that guidance. But those of you who are living off campus, this is your kind of independent living, that you need to continue to do those things to be a good community member for us when you're on campus. And when you're on campus, those individual guidelines you're going to be held accountable to and asked to follow when you're on campus. But when you're in your private homes off campus, you need to make some individual choices that are going to keep all of us safe.
Great. We have one more question for Cindy Sabo. If Cindy could just talk about what extra precautions and safeguards are available for students with compromised immune systems or pre-existing health conditions.
Sure. Definitely, if there's a student that has a compromised immune system, the preference would be talk to your provider. Some providers are saying, with your situation, it is not safe for you to be on a college campus during a pandemic. We're doing the best we can to do safeguards, but there are some people that risk is too great, even with all the safeguards we have in place. So please, if you have a compromised immune system, please make sure you are talking to your provider to see if you are in a safe place to be able to live on a college campus. And I'm sorry, Ellen, was there another part to that question?
I think you answered it. Immune compromised, pre-existing health conditions.
And if maybe, hopefully, my hope is that things are going to lighten over the next few months. That would be wonderful. To maybe you could come spring semester. If it's like right now it's too risky, maybe spring semester, or be great when as President Scogin said, maybe COVID will be gone or be under much better control.
For sure. Thank you so much, Cindy. If after this, I think we've gotten to most, sorry, too many communication forums happening. I think we've gotten to most of the questions, but if you had a question that was not answered here this evening, what you can do is go to the Hope College website /coronavirus, and just at the right of that web page, you will see a button that you can click on to submit your questions. We have a staff ready to respond to any of your questions and to connect you to resources. So we will answer your questions even if we weren't able to do so tonight. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to President Scogin to wrap us up.
Thanks, Ellen. Thank you all for joining with us this evening. I hope you've observed, as I have, that we have an incredible team. We have the best team in the world. This team of amazing people have spent their entire summer preparing for you to come back to campus. The Pine Grove is beautiful, as you can see. The only thing that will make it more beautiful is having you here with us in a little more than 3 weeks. I can't wait. We can't wait to move you in. It will be great to have you here. I'll end by quoting our provost. She had a great line. and she said that, referencing the fall, she said that a lot more will be the same than will be different. And I think that's an accurate summary. There will be a lot that's different, but the core things that make Hope a special place will be true, and they will be as true as ever this fall. So I can't wait to see you. It will be great to have you here. And with that, Spera and Deo, and thanks very much. We're going to close with a prayer, and I will flip it to Bruce Benedict from our campus ministries team to close us with a prayer.
Let's pray. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, thank you for the gifts of technology that allowed us to gather together this evening from so many different places. Thank you for the incredible constellation of faculty and staff that you have brought to Hope. Empower them as they seek to lead us to heard our concerns and our anxieties, joys, and our hope. We ask that you would continue to bless the entire community of Hope College with health, wisdom, and power beyond its abilities. Our hope is in you, our refuge and our strength. In Jesus' name, amen.